Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us. And today, we're going all the way back
Okay.
to January of 1838
Right.
in Ripley, Ohio.
Interesting.
So imagine just stepping into the Red Oak Presbyterian Church
Okay.
right after an anti-slavery society meeting has just wrapped up.
Mm.
We're going to be basically eavesdropping on a conversation.
Oh, wow.
They could change some lives here.
Okay.
This is the kind of moment where history kind of whispers its secrets.
So we're talking about pre-Civil War.
Yeah.
And we're talking about real people. It's not just ideas.
It's not just like...
We're about to see the Underground Railroad in action with all the dangers and the risks.
Yeah, and we're introduced to this abolitionist
Okay.
who's looking for someone they can trust.
Uh-huh.
And they land on a young farmer named Jacob.
So why a farmer?
Well, I think a lot of people today might think that the Underground Railroad was just in cities. But back then, rural communities were so important.
Of course. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Isolated farms would have been the perfect place to hide people without attracting attention.
Yeah, they called them...
Packages.
Packages.
Yeah. So why...
I think they called the slaves that had escaped.
Yeah, why all this secrecy? Couldn't they just come out and say what was going on?
Well, you have to think.
Yeah.
We're talking pre-Civil War.
Right.
Slavery is the law.
Right.
You can't just talk about helping people escape.
Right.
I mean, that's like open rebellion, one wrong word.
Right.
And people could die.
So this conversation is really a high-stakes game of whispers and hidden meanings.
Right.
So what do we know about this abolitionist?
Well, our sources say that they were likely a respected person in the community.
Okay.
Someone who could blend in.
Right.
But also someone who was very against slavery.
Right. So they had to be careful to check out Jacob to see if he was really committed.
Yeah.
You know, using kind of little hints and questions.
Yeah, it's almost like they're interviewing him for a secret society or something. So how did this conversation actually unfold?
So they wouldn't just come right out and say, hey, want to join the Underground Railroad.
Right.
They would start by hinting at the dangers that people escaping slavery faced and how they needed discreet people to help. It was a tough situation.
Yeah.
They had to appeal to Jacob's compassion, but also his fear of being exposed.
How did Jacob react to that? Was he just immediately on board, or?
Well, he was a devout Methodist.
Yeah.
So he's torn between his beliefs and the law. He says he feels bad for the slaves.
Okay.
But he's afraid of what will happen to him if he gets involved.
That's got to be a tough position to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, a real struggle.
Yeah. Did the abolitionist try to like push him, or
they knew better than that?
Make him decide right away?
Yeah. They knew if they pushed him too hard, it would backfire.
Yeah.
So instead, they kind of planted seeds of doubt.
Okay.
You know, pointing out how his faith and his inaction didn't really match up.
Yeah.
They were basically saying that helping these packages was a way for him to live up to his Christian ideals.
That's a pretty compelling argument.
Yeah, very persuasive.
So we have this young farmer wrestling with this huge moral dilemma.
Yeah.
And then this abolitionist who's kind of like skillfully nudging him toward a life-altering decision.
Exactly.
So where do they go from there?
Well,
Did they just reveal...
Well, they started by...
everything.
Yeah.
Like all the specifics.
Painting a picture of the journey that these packages would take.
Okay.
Describing the route from the slave states
Okay.
across the Ohio River and into the network of safe houses that led north.
So they were really laying out this
Yeah.
dangerous journey,
Yeah.
like almost a map of freedom, but with all these
Exactly.
secret paths and stops.
Yeah.
Did they actually name names, or was that too risky?
They might have mentioned some Quaker communities,
Okay.
like Newport,
Mm-hmm.
Oberlin, places where escaping slaves
Yeah.
could find help.
Right.
But they probably wouldn't say too many names,
Yeah, makes sense.
especially if Jacob
wasn't
sure if he wanted to help.
Yeah, it's like they're testing him
Right.
to see
Exactly.
if he's ready
How far they could go.
to take that leap.
Yeah.
So he must have felt like he was stepping into a whole other world.
Right.
This,
A whole secret world
Yeah.
right under everyone's noses.
yeah. So it wasn't just logistics either.
Yeah,
It was
well,
trust.
It was about trust.
Yeah.
The abolitionists had to know if Jacob could be trusted,
Right.
if he could keep secrets.
Because one wrong move
Right.
could endanger everybody.
Could bring the whole thing down.
So what were the risks here?
Oh, the risks were huge.
Like if you got caught,
it wasn't just about what people would think.
Right.
I mean, there was the Fugitive Slave Act
Yeah,
that
yeah.
made it a federal crime
yeah.
to help runaway slaves.
So you could be fined
Yeah, big fines.
Go to jail.
Prison.
Yeah.
Even violence from people who supported slavery.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
To think about the courage.
It took a lot of courage.
That it took.
To push yourself out there like that.
For people to get involved in this.
Yeah.
Knowing the law was against them.
Right.
What was driving them?
Well, it was probably a mix of things.
Okay.
For some, it was their faith.
Okay.
I felt slavery was a sin.
Okay.
Others were part of the abolitionist movement.
Mm-hmm.
They believed in equality.
Right.
And some maybe had personal connections to slaves.
Right.
Seen the cruelty firsthand.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about how all those different motivations really kind of intertwined.
Yeah.
Some people were driven by justice.
Mm-hmm.
Others by empathy. And others by this deep religious conviction.
And somehow they all came together.
And they all found common ground in this dangerous mission.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just individuals.
No, sometimes it was whole communities, churches, even whole towns.
That's amazing.
Would support the Underground Railroad.
What I find so fascinating is the ingenuity.
Yeah.
How did they communicate and coordinate?
Well, remember, this was all very decentralized. Right. There wasn't one leader.
Right.
There wasn't a map or a rule book. The routes changed based on what was happening and where they could find safe houses.
So how did they would use codes?
Communicate then.
Yeah. Hidden in quilts. Interesting. Lanterns in windows.
Okay.
Special knocks.
Wow.
Even songs with double meanings.
Wow, that's like a real-life spy network.
That's exactly what it was.
It's amazing.
They had to be secretive.
Yeah.
And creative.
Yeah.
To outsmart the people trying to enforce slavery.
It really makes you think.
Yeah.
What kind of person?
Yeah, what kind of person could do this?
Could actually be?
Right.
A conductor.
Yeah, it wasn't just bravery. What qualities?
You'd be smart.
Quick thinking, able to blend in.
Right.
You had to know the land, the risks,
and
be able to make decisions under pressure.
Yeah, and I imagine you had to.
And most importantly, you had to be able to inspire trust.
Yeah, because these people were putting their lives in your hands.
Right.
So if Jacob decided to join...
So what would Jacob have actually done?
What would his role have been?
Well, it depended on where he was.
Right.
And what resources he had.
Okay.
Some people gave food and shelter in their homes.
Okay.
Others transported people from one safe house to the next.
Right.
Often at night.
Okay.
To avoid being seen.
Makes sense.
Some even helped to make fake documents.
Wow.
Or gather supplies.
Okay.
Or raise money.
It's a reminder.
Yeah.
That even the smallest acts of defiance could have a big impact on this larger movement.
Every person mattered.
Towards freedom?
Yeah, no matter how small their role.
Every person
we were all crucial.
Who participated was crucial.
Yeah, to this whole operation.
And each successful escape was a victory, not just for that individual, but for the whole network.
It showed them they could make a difference.
It must have been.
Even against such injustice.
Emotionally exhausting, though.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah. Can you imagine the constant fear?
Yeah.
The tension?
Right.
The weight of responsibility
Did he encounter
for these conductors.
Every safe house.
Yeah.
Every step was filled with danger.
But they kept going.
They kept going.
Driven by this belief
that
everyone deserves a chance at liberty. It makes you think.
It really does.
About what you would be willing to risk for others.
Right.
Could you imagine yourself in Jacob's shoes?
Yeah. Would you risk everything?
Weighing the consequences?
To help someone in need.
Against the moral imperative to help.
That's what makes this story so powerful.
Yeah.
It forces us to look at the past.
Yeah.
And think about what freedom really means.
Yeah.
Justice.
Yeah.
Human dignity.
And it reminds us that these aren't just words.
Yeah.
These are lived experiences.
Yeah. Born out of resistance and sacrifice.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that after the break. It's easy to get lost in the details, right? The codes, the routes.
Right.
But for me, what's really powerful is the human side of all of this.
Right.
Imagine you're one of those packages fleeing for your life.
Wow.
Every shadow could be a threat.
Yeah.
Every stranger an enemy.
It must have been incredibly stressful to leave everything behind. Your family, your home.
To travel hundreds of miles in secret.
Constantly on edge.
Right.
Look over your shoulder.
And for the conductors.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing that one wrong move
yeah.
could mean capture.
Not just for themselves, but for the people they were trying to help.
And each safe house would have been a moment of relief, but also a reminder of the danger they were in.
Imagine the hushed conversations.
Yeah.
The shared meals.
Right.
The constant worry.
Every knock at the door.
Right.
Could be a friend or it could be someone who was going to turn them in.
The level of trust is just incredible.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
These escaped slaves.
Yeah.
We're putting their lives in the hands of complete strangers.
Relying on their kindness and their ability to keep a secret.
That's what makes this story so powerful to me.
I agree.
It goes beyond the facts and figures. It's really...
It's about empathy.
A testament to the human capacity for empathy and courage.
The willingness to do what's right.
Right.
Even when it's dangerous.
It really makes you think.
It does.
About your own values.
Yeah.
Would you have the courage to open your door to a stranger in need?
Knowing what could happen.
Knowing what could happen to you. To your family.
Exactly.
And that's the legacy of the Underground Railroad.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It challenges us.
It makes us think about
the
injustices of the past.
Not just the injustices of the past.
But also the choices we make today. You know?
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line?
The choices we make today.
Between following the rules and doing what we know is right.
It's a story that really
it speaks to everyone.
Connects us.
Yeah.
Across generations.
Right.
Reminding us that the fight for freedom and equality it's never really over.
It's a constant struggle.
Right. There will always be systems of oppression.
Right.
But there will also be those.
But there will always be people.
Who resist.
Yeah.
And the Underground Railroad. Is a model for that resistance.
It shows us what's possible when people come together.
For a common goal.
The power of ordinary people. Coming together, united by a common purpose.
And it shows that even small acts of defiance.
Right. Even small acts of defiance
can make a difference.
Can make a big difference.
Can lead to big changes.
And contribute to a larger movement for change.
So as we wrap up this deep dive.
Into the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, as we wrap up this deep dive.
I didn't think about this.
Into the Underground Railroad.
The next time you're in a situation.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Where you have to be brave.
Yeah.
Where you have to show compassion.
The next time you're faced with a situation.
Where you have to stand up for what you believe in.
That calls for courage.
Remember this story.
For compassion.
Remember the risks people took.
For standing up for what you believe in.
The sacrifices they made.
Remember this story.
The lives they changed.
Remember the risks these individuals took.
Let their example inspire you.
The sacrifices they made.
To make a difference.
The lives they changed.
In your own way.
Let their legacy inspire you to act.
No matter how small.
To make a difference in your own way.
Because the fight for justice and equality.
No matter how big or small.
Continues.
The struggle for a more just.
And we all have a part to play.
An equitable world.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you've learned something new.
And each of us has a role to play.
About this incredible chapter in American history, and that you'll keep thinking about it.
As we conclude this deep dive.
Long after this deep dive is over.
Into the heart of the Underground Railroad.
Until next time.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Keep exploring. Keep questioning.
The next time you're faced with a situation that calls for courage.
And keep diving deep.
For compassion.
Into the stories that shape our world.
For standing up for what you believe in. Remember this story. It's easy to get caught up in the logistics, the codes, the routes. But what I find so powerful is the human drama of it all.
Right.
Imagine you're one of those packages.
To be in their shoes, fleeing for your life.
Every shadow could be a threat.
Right? Every stranger.
Every stranger could be an enemy.
Yeah, could be dangerous.
And the psychological toll.
Oh, yeah, it must have been immense.
That must have taken...
To leave everything you know, your family, your home, and travel hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
In
constantly looking over your shoulder.
Always on edge.
And then for the conductors.
Right.
Knowing that one wrong move.
One mistake.
Could mean capture.
Could be disastrous.
Not just for themselves.
Not just for them.
But for the very people they were trying to help.
But for the people they were trying to save.
And each safe house would have been like...
Right, a moment of respite.
Yeah, a moment of relief.
Yeah, but also a reminder of the danger.
But also a reminder of the danger.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
The hushed conversations.
Yeah.
The shared meals. The constant vigilance.
Yeah, every knock on the door could be.
Right, every sound.
A friend.
Or a foe.
Or a foe.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, and the trust involved.
The trust, right?
These escaping slaves.
These escaped slaves.
They had to put their lives in the hands of complete strangers.
Into the hands of complete strangers.
Just hoping.
Lying on
and their
them.
Compassion.
And keep their secrets.
And their discretion.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this story so powerful to me.
I agree.
It goes beyond just the historical facts and figures.
It's about the human spirit.
It's a testament.
The desire for freedom.
To the human capacity for empathy and courage.
The willingness to help others.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard.
The willingness to stand up for what's right.
Right.
Even when it means putting everything on the line.
Exactly.
It really makes you examine your own values.
It does make you think.
Would you have the courage?
Would you have done the same thing?
To open your door to a stranger in need.
Knowing the risks.
Knowing the potential consequences.
Right.
And that's the legacy of the Underground Railroad.
It is a powerful legacy.
It challenges us to confront not just the injustices of the past.
Right. It's not just about history.
But the choices we face in our own lives. It's about the choices we make every day.
It asks us.
What are we willing to risk?
Yeah.
For what we believe in?
What are we willing to risk?
Yeah.
For the sake of others?
Where do we draw the line?
Where do we draw the line?
Between doing what's safe.
Between obedience.
And doing what's right.
And conscience.
It's a story that continues to resonate.
It's a story.
It reminds us that the fight for freedom and equality
that resonates across generations
is never truly over.
Reminding us that the fight for freedom and equality,
there will always be people who need help,
is never truly over.
And there will always be those who are willing to help them.
There will always be sisters of oppression.
Right.
But there will also be those who dare to resist.
The Underground Railroad is a blueprint.
And the Underground Railroad offers a blueprint for that resistance.
It shows us that ordinary people can make a difference.
It shows the power of ordinary people coming together.
When they unite for a common purpose.
United by a common purpose.
It proves that even small acts of defiance.
It demonstrates that even small acts of defiance
can have a ripple effect.
Can have a ripple effect contributing to a larger movement for change.
Leading to bigger changes.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the heart of the Underground Railroad.
Right as we wrap up.
I want to leave you with this thought.
I hope you'll take this with you.
The next time you're faced with a situation.
Remember this story.
That calls for courage for compassion.
Remember the risks people took.
For standing up for what you believe in.
The sacrifices they made.
Remember this story.
The lives they changed.
Remember the risks these individuals took.
Let their legacy inspire you.
The sacrifices they made.
To make a difference in your own world.
The lives they changed. Let their legacy inspire you to act.
No matter how big or small.
To make a difference in your own way, no matter how big or small.
The fight for a more just and equitable world goes on.
The struggle for a more just and equitable world continues, and each of us has a role to play.
And we can all be a part of it.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this remarkable chapter in American history.
I hope you've learned something new.
And that you'll carry its lessons with you long after this deep dive is over. Until next time.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
Keep exploring.
And keep diving deep into the stories that shape our world.
Keep questioning and keep diving deep into the stories that shape our world.